Coming to you on Secular Media Network, this is the Gaytheist Manifesto, your source for news, commentary, discussion, and debate at the intersection of the atheist movement and the LGBT rights movement. I am your host, Callie Wright, broadcasting live on this unbelievably historical day. Holy crap, guys, what a day. I woke up this morning at about 10 a.m., and I went to load SCOTUS blog because I've been following that like a mad person. And I loaded the blog. I loaded the page just in time to see the words, "The 14th Amendment requires a state to license a marriage between two people of the same sex." I seriously could not believe what I was reading. Not that it was unexpected. That's the thing. I think everybody kind of saw this one coming, but the Supreme Court's kind of given mixed messages between conservative values and liberal values, and so it was easy to see this thing kind of going in the middle, where they would uphold the state's rights to declare legal gay marriage, but not declare it legal for the entire country. So the ruling today in Obergefell v. Hodges solidified that gay couples have the same right to marry as anyone else in the country. And so as an activist, we all kind of have mixed feelings a lot of times when big milestones like this happen, because you never know. Are people who are not super invested in this fight, are they going to lay it down because, this is, the fight's over, everything's good now? Or are we going to recognize that there's still work to do and move on? And I'm glad to say that, the rally that we had today here in Cincinnati, my community showed up and spoke very loudly that we recognize that there's so much work still to be done. I have a friend named Jack who is a sort of a radical trans activist, and he's done so much work for such a long time fighting in Cincinnati for the rights of trans people and against violence and running support groups. And he posted something today that kind of I think kind of summed up my feelings. He said, "As an activist who has been very vocal about our community needing much more than marriage, I'm surprised at the amount of shock and unidentifiable emotion I experienced when I heard the news. It took me a while to process it. I'm very glad for all my dear friends that are impacted by this, and for all who will be impacted in the future. I'm grateful to all who worked to make this happen. I'm most struck by what this momentous change could mean for society. I am hopeful that eyes and money will turn towards addressing needs on safety, employment, housing, healthcare, education, racism, poverty, youth, and spreading social justice. Let's rejoice and let's keep working." And I couldn't agree with that more. Trans activism, LGBT activism, and even atheist activism, for that matter, can seem like a pretty exhausting and bleak enterprise. It seems like there's always insurmountable mountains to climb, and we have to fight and claw for every tiny little bit of progress. And the job's never complete, and there's always more to do. So sometimes you can guilt yourself into feeling bad for feeling good and for celebrating. And I fought that urge pretty hard today, but my city showed up, and I showed up, and they spoke very loudly that trans people are the next place to go. That, we need equality, we need safety, we need safe streets, we need safe schools. So I went down to Cincinnati at about 2:30 p.m. Eastern, to start setting up for this rally that some of my colleagues in the Greater Cincinnati Human Rights Campaign set up. Very, very last minute, very, calling an event or calling a venue and saying, hey, I want to plan an event, but don't know the date really. But here's all the stuff that I want to do. It's a good way to get yourself laughed off the phone. But this really cool little bar in Cincinnati called Japs said, yeah, let's do it. So we showed up and started decorating, and we got the venue ready. And then I sat down with some of my friends and kind of reflected on the moment and what this all means. So I recorded a little bit with some of my friends who were there and what their thoughts were. So here's John, Steve, and Evan. All right, guys, I'm here with John, Steve, and Evan. We are about to open the doors at the celebration rally for the SCOTUS decision today. Steve, tell me how you're feeling.
We feel great. This is the first time in history that we have full marriage equality in all 50 states. It's a sweeping ruling by the Supreme Court, and it's really the right thing to do. At the end of the day, this says two things. One, that LGBT people in this country have finally arrived, and two, that we're not second-class citizens.
Evan, tell me on a personal level, what does this mean to you?
Well, for me, I feel like I've been empowered and recognized by the federal government, like on a national level, to where we can go to City Hall and get married, and we'll be supported by our government.
John, you're excited? You've been running around like a madman all day today. What are you expecting tonight? You feeling good?
I'm feeling wonderful. Today has been monumentous. To see the change that our city has undergone in just 15 short years.
Totally lost the broadcast connection there. Let's try that clip again. All right, guys, I'm here with John, Steve, and Evan. We are about to open the doors at the celebration rally for the SCOTUS decision today. Steve, tell me how you're feeling.
We feel great. This is the first time in history that we have full marriage equality in all 50 states. It's a sweeping ruling by the Supreme Court, and it's really the right thing to do. At the end of the day, this says two things. One, that LGBT people in this country have finally arrived, and two, that we're not second-class citizens.
Evan, tell me on a personal level, what does this mean to you?
Well, for me, I feel like I've been empowered and recognized by the federal government, like on a national level, to where we can go to City Hall and get married, and we'll be supported by our government.
John, you're excited? You've been running around like a madman all day today. What are you expecting tonight? You feeling good?
I'm feeling wonderful. Today has been monumentous. To see the change that our...
My internet connection is just not cooperating with me. So the rally was pretty incredible. We had statements from the plaintiffs. We had statements from City Councilman Chris Seelbach, who is the first openly gay elected leader in Cincinnati. And one of the things that struck me about what Chris said was the first thing that he mentioned was that today, ironically enough, is the day that we lost Tiffany Edwards, who is a trans woman of color who was murdered in Cincinnati last year, who we commemorated at the Transgender Day of Remembrance ceremony. So a sobering reminder of the work left to be done. But Chris has been a good ally for the trans community in Cincinnati, and it was great to see him there and to see him speak so forcefully, not just on his behalf and for gay folks, but for trans folks as well. Here's Chris Seelbach. I'm here with Cincinnati City Council member Chris Seelbach, the first openly gay elected official in Cincinnati. Chris, talk to me about what today means to you.
Wow, I mean, it's incredible. It's the moment that so many of us had waited for our whole life and never thought would happen. Many of us as kids dreamed of the day that maybe we could get married, but never thought it would happen or be possible in our lifetime. And so through lots of struggle and work and organizing and conversations, the Supreme Court has heard us and said that, under the United States Constitution, gay people are protected and they do deserve equal rights. So it's a monumental day, a day that will go down in the history books. And it's hard to take in one day.
Yeah, and how cool is it that Cincinnati is the center of everything? The city that we grew up in. Well, I don't. Did you grow up in Cincinnati? You grew up in Louisville. Okay, but the city that we all live in and the city that we love, to have it be kind of the center of the universe. How cool is that?
It's amazing. I mean, Cincinnati, for so many reasons, is the epicenter of the LGBT movement. From Article 12 a decade ago to Lila Alcorn and the spark of conversation of what it means to be transgender and trans equality, to now marriage equality, and the lead plaintiff lives in Over the Rhine in Cincinnati. I mean, this is really the heart and soul of the gay rights movement. It's incredible.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for taking the time to call out the transgender movement. I really appreciate that as a trans person. That means a lot to us to know that we're not forgotten and that we're gonna celebrate today and we're gonna move on and get back to work tomorrow.
So it means a lot to me. I'm not done. I care about the trans movement so much, and I will fight to make sure the conversation and the fight continues.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's so cool to have such strong statements of support from leaders in elected positions. These are the people that make the laws that affect us all. To give some background, you heard Chris in there reference Article 12. Article 12 was a law passed in Cincinnati in 1993 that actually was a law passed to prevent LGBT protection laws from being passed. So it was actually illegal to pass protections for LGBT people in Cincinnati, and that law wasn't repealed until 2004. So we've gone from repealing Article 12 in 2004 to being the epicenter of marriage equality, with the Sixth Circuit Court being the court that ruled against equality for the first time, having that dubious distinction. But that was eventually the decision that took it to the Supreme Court, and the fact that there was finally dissent among the Supreme Court was why, or among the district courts, was why the Supreme Court picked the case up in the first place. So it was sort of a blessing in disguise from the Sixth Circuit Federal Court there. So, I don't think enough can be said about these plaintiffs. In high-profile cases like this, there's so many emotions involved and so much hate from the people who don't want this to happen. Pastors threatening to set themselves on fire, and mainstream presidential candidates throwing in with these people. And I don't want to speak too much to the to the bigots and to the people who are against this, because this day doesn't belong to them. It belongs to us. But I think it's important that these plaintiffs be recognized for being able to be out there and to say, hey, look, I'm out, I'm proud, my family matters, I matter, and I want to be recognized as equals. What was really cool was at the rally, there were actually a few of the plaintiffs from the case there on stage talking, and it was pretty emotional. You had a lesbian couple there that had their daughter, beautiful little girl, who doesn't have to grow up wondering why the government doesn't recognize her mom's marriage. And I think it erases so many complications for loving gay couples with paperwork, hospital visits, insurance, all of that sort of stuff. So I think it's super important to recognize these folks, and not just Jim Obergefell, who was the lead plaintiff and who, by all accounts, is an amazing human being. But he wasn't the only one. So, they all deserve recognition. And I was fortunate enough to get to talk to Kelly. We call him the Kellys because it's actually a couple where both ladies are named Kelly. But I was walking around outside and I happened to see her and grab her and say, hey, you mind kind of talking to me for a second? And she was gracious enough to do that. So here's Kelly. I'm here with Kelly, who is one of the plaintiffs in the big court decision today. Kelly, talk to me about how you're feeling.
I have had trouble putting it into words all day. Amazing. Relieved is really coming to mind. I feel like I had like a giant tumor removed from my back or something. Like I just feel this huge weight lifted. It's so awesome. I don't have to worry about my rights being protected as my daughter's mother. I don't have to worry about her rights being protected. And now everybody that I see the love in my friends' relationships, and now that can be, validated. It's real. It's true. There's no more hiding. There's no more feeling like second-class citizens. We're here, and that's how it is. And we're glad that it's validated now.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for putting yourself out there like that. We really appreciate it.
So awesome to be able to meet her and hug her. And, there are even a few of the lawyers from the law firm who argued the case in front of the Supreme Court. And to be able to meet people who were involved in such a monumental moment in history with my hometown as the epicenter, it's just pretty freaking cool. That's pretty much all I can say. I often talk about how, marriage isn't the only thing. And there are many issues that affect the entire LGBT community, and not just trans people. I mean, we're still not there on gay rights. There are still many places where it's legal to fire someone from their job for being gay, or to deny someone equal housing because they're gay. But what I also want people to recognize is that marriage is a trans issue as well. There are 5 states. I don't remember which ones off the top of my head, but there are 5 states where your birth certificate can't be amended for any reason. And in Ohio, I found out that what that means for me is that who it's legal for me to marry is actually at a judge's discretion, because a judge can choose to look at my driver's license, which says female, and my birth certificate, which says male. So one of my rights as a trans person, as a queer trans person, was up to a judge's discretion instead of enshrined in the Constitution like it should be. So this is a victory for trans people too. There's much more work to be done for the trans community, and believe me when I say we will do that work. But this is a victory for us as well. I have a dear friend, Lindsay Deaton, who I've done a lot of work with in the local trans community here. I cannot say enough about this woman and what she has done and continues to do for the trans community. She's a matriarch of the community. She is a fierce, unflinching advocate for the community, and I can't say enough good things about her. But I talked to her a little bit about why this is a trans issue as well. So here's Lindsay.
All right, I am here with my dear friend Lindsay Deaton. Lindsay is a friend of mine that I met in the trans community here in Cincinnati. I love her so much. Lindsay, tell me why today is important, not just for gay people, but for trans people as well.
Callie, what a great day for families. Let's just start there. I've been married 35 years, all right? And when I transitioned, my wife's company made me a permanent domestic partner. And now I'm married. It's amazing. I'm so grateful. And that, we'll recognize our gender, first of all, and now recognize the state of our relationships. Great. So you can see I'm very emotional. It's a very big deal. And it's a big deal for all families. And that's the most important thing, is that our children now have the security to know that they really do belong.
And I could probably answer this myself, but I want to have you speak to it as well. We heard City Councilman Chris Seelbach, Cincinnati City Councilman Chris Seelbach, not only speaking about the significance of this day for the gay community, but the significance of the work left to be done in the transgender community. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Chris Seelbach began his remarks tonight with remembering the killing of Tiffany Edwards, a transgender woman of color, here in Cincinnati 1 year ago today, June 26, 2014. And he remembered that, first of all, that we need to remember her and her family, and that there's a lot of work yet to be done. And then he called us to celebrate. And so, I was grateful that he remembered Tiffany first, and then, gave us permission to, think about how we can move forward. And I'm grateful for his remarks, that he was thoughtful and, very moving, honestly.
Well, Lindsay, thank you for your time. And I'm going to steal a phrase from you. Thank you for everything you are and do. I love you.
I love you too, Callie.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Internet connection problems. I appreciate you guys sticking with me here. I feel like I didn't get any of this out. So let's start over. We're talking about Jim Obergefell, who was the lead plaintiff in the case Obergefell v. Hodges today. And I think what's important that we need to recognize about this case is that it's not just a matter of two people fighting to have their marriage recognized. It's Jim's journey started when his husband was diagnosed with ALS, which I'm sure everyone knows by now is this horrible degenerative disease that robs you of your mobility and eventually kills you. And Jim and John were married in another state, and Jim's fight started when he wanted to have his name on his husband's death certificate. And what a place to start the fight for marriage equality. So Jim fought his case through the courts, eventually ended up at the Sixth Circuit Court last summer. My first public speaking engagement was a rally outside the courthouse the day that case was being heard. So I can't understate the importance of this case and what it means and the statement that it sends. John is no longer with Jim to celebrate this. So it makes this victory bittersweet in some ways, for all those couples who were denied equality and who this didn't happen in time for. So, and I hate to leave this on a somber note, but I think that's important to recognize. So what I have here is a statement that Jim recorded. Jim wasn't at the rally today in Cincinnati. He was in Washington, D.C., he will be back tomorrow for the Pride Parade, which I'm really excited about. But this is a statement that Jim recorded to be played at the rally today. So here's Jim Obergefell.
Hello, Cincinnati. What an absolutely amazing day it has been here at the Supreme Court. Today, marriage equality has come to the state of Ohio. This wouldn't be possible without each and every one of you. I wouldn't be here without your generosity, your support, your belief in justice for all. And now, for the first time, my marriage to John and the marriages of loving and committed same-sex couples across this state and across this country will be recognized. And finally, couples can marry right on the steps of City Hall. From Westchester to the West Side, Cincinnatians have stood tall in support of fairness. We've come a long way since Issue 3, my friends, and the sky is the limit. This isn't the end of our journey, and this isn't the end of our fight for full equality. It's time to end discrimination where it lives, in employment, in education, in public accommodations. It's time to ensure that our transgender brothers and sisters are safe. It's time to make sure that LGBT Americans cannot be fired, cannot be evicted, cannot be turned away simply because of whom they love. But today, it's time to celebrate. It's time to honor how far we've come. And Cincinnati, it's time to get married.
So that was Jim Obergefell, the lead plaintiff in the case today that was decided that enshrined gay marriage as the law of the land in right here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Pretty incredible stuff. So, today was pretty surreal. It says I'm still on air, so I'm just going to keep going. I think I'm still here. There we go. Activism can be depressing and exhausting work. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, you feel like you never really win. And in a lot of ways, we have to accept the fact that, we're going to die with so much of this work undone. And, that's kind of a depressing way to look at it. And obviously, we've made a lot of progress and we will continue to make progress and the world will be better for it. And I do think that's important to recognize. So I'm going to leave you guys tonight with the last paragraph of the decision that was written by, I believe, Justice Anthony Kennedy. And it's a pretty profound statement, and I think it's one for the history books. No union is more profound than marriage, for it embodies the highest ideals of love, fidelity, devotion, sacrifice, and family. In forming a marital union, two people become something greater than they once were. As some of the petitioners in these cases demonstrate, Marriage embodies a love that may endure even past death. It would misunderstand these men and women to say they disrespect the idea of marriage. Their plea is that they do respect it so deeply that they seek to find its fulfillment for themselves. Their hope is not to be condemned to live in loneliness, excluded from one of civilization's oldest institutions. They ask for equal dignity in the eyes of the law. The Constitution grants them that right. And then very profoundly at the end it says, "It is so ordered." I read those words and I cried the first time. Not that that's out of line for me to do, because I'm a super sensitive person and I kind of cry at everything. But this has been an amazing day, my friends, and I want to thank everyone for the amazing support that we've gotten. And my Facebook news feed was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life today. And I can't express enough appreciation to our allies, to people who, aside from having friends and loved ones, don't necessarily have a personal dog in this fight, and who have stood with us and fought with us along the way. I think it's really important to recognize those folks. So thank you all so much. Thank you all for supporting me. Thank you for supporting this show. Thank you for supporting our community. And, to the rest of us, we're not done. This is a milestone on a very, very long road, and we are committed to this fight. We're not going to stop. We're in celebration mode. We're very happy. We're proud, but we are not done. We're not going to leave anybody behind, and this movement will continue. So friends, before I go, I want to let you know that if you're hurting, if you're lost, if you're scared, if you feel like no one cares and no one understands, you need to know there's a community here who loves you, cares for you, and knows that you're capable of amazing things and that you are worthy of love. If you need help, if you're struggling, please don't be afraid to reach out. Coming to you only on Secular Media Network, this is the Gaytheist Manifesto.